They called him the last samurai, a man of honor, born into a world that suddenly had no place for honor. Imagine a time when an entire empire turns its back on centuries of tradition, when progress means erasing the very soul of a nation. In that turbulent moment, one warrior chose death before dishonor. He chose to stand when all others knelt. This is the tragic yet inspiring story of Saigō Takamori, the samurai who fought alone. Welcome to Silent Warrior Studios. Our story begins in Kagoshima, Japan, during the late 19th century. For 700 years, the samurai had been the heart and soul of Japan. Its protectors, its leaders, its moral compass. They lived by a strict code of conduct known as Bushido, which valued loyalty, courage, and honor above all else. But the winds of change were blowing fiercely across the island nation. Western ships, black and imposing, appeared in Japan's harbors, bringing with them a new kind of power, modern technology. Suddenly, guns began to replace swords. Factories sprung up, promising a new era of industrial might. The emperor's new government, eager to compete on the world stage, embraced this change with feverish enthusiasm. They wanted modern armies, modern economies, and modern politics. The ancient ways of the warrior, with their intricate codes of honor and personal sacrifice, were seen as obstacles, relics of a bygone era that needed to be swept away. In the midst of this whirlwind was Saigō Takamori. He was no mere soldier. He was a giant of his time, a respected general who had helped restore the emperor to power, a statesman and a revered teacher of Bushido. He understood the need for Japan to adapt, but he deeply feared that in its rush to modernize, Japan would lose its very essence. He argued that modernization without morality, progress without principle, would not strengthen Japan, but would instead hollow it out, leaving behind a nation rich in technology but poor in spirit. His pleas and warnings fell on deaf ears in the capital. The government was determined to forge ahead, no matter the cost to tradition. Disheartened and disillusioned, Saigō made a fateful decision. He resigned from his high-ranking government post and retreated from the world of politics. He returned to his home province of Satsuma, settling in the serene mountains. There, he didn't simply retire into obscurity. He opened private schools, dedicating himself to training a new generation of young men, not just in the art of the sword, but in the timeless virtues of the samurai way. In the quiet of the mountains, as the rest of Japan hurtled toward an uncertain future, Saigō preserved a flicker of the old world. But that flicker was about to be challenged. The government, viewing the samurai class as a threat to its centralized power, took a drastic step. They began to systematically disarm them, stripping them of their swords and their centuries-old privileges. For the young, passionate students trained by Saigō, this was the ultimate insult. It was an attack not just on their status, but on their very identity. Their simmering discontent boiled over into open rebellion. They rallied around their mentor, Saigō, seeing him as the only man who could lead them, the only one who could defend the soul of Japan. Though reluctant, Saigō felt a profound duty to his followers and to the principles he held dear. He agreed to lead them, and the Satsuma Rebellion began. An army of nearly 60,000 men, mostly armed with traditional swords and spears, marched on the imperial garrison at Kumamoto Castle. They were driven by a fierce loyalty and a discipline forged in the Bushido code. In the initial clashes, their sheer valor and strategic genius gave them the upper hand. They fought with a spirit that the conscripted imperial soldiers could not match. But honor and courage can only do so much against overwhelming firepower. The imperial army, equipped with modern rifles, cannons, and Gatling guns, was merciless. Modern warfare had no room for the ritualized combat of the samurai. The rebels were slowly pushed back, their numbers dwindling with each brutal engagement. The imperial forces eventually surrounded Saigō and his remaining army. Artillery rained down upon them relentlessly, turning their mountain strongholds into infernos of smoke and fire. Trapped and outnumbered, defeat was inevitable. Yet Saigō refused to flee. He refused to abandon his men or his cause. In a letter to a friend, written amidst the chaos of the siege, his resolve was unshaken. He wrote, "If I am to die for the cause of justice, I do not regret it." For him, this was not just a battle for territory. It was a final, defiant stand for a way of life. The end came on a misty morning, September 24, 1877, on Shiroyama Hill, overlooking the city of Kagoshima. Saigō Takamori stood with his last loyal followers, no more than 400 samurai against a force of thousands of imperial troops who had them completely surrounded. There was no hope of victory, no chance of escape. There was only one path left for a samurai, a glorious death. As the dawn light pierced through the smoke-filled air, Saigō gave the order. With a final earth-shaking war cry, they drew their swords and charged down the slope, a wave of defiance against the tide of history. It was a massacre. The imperial soldiers, firing from their fortified positions, cut them down with brutal efficiency. The charge was heroic but tragically short-lived. In the chaos, Saigō was struck by a bullet and gravely wounded. Unable to fight on, he knew his time had come. He turned to his closest friend, his most loyal retainer, and made one last request: to die an honorable death. Following the sacred ritual of seppuku, he took his own life, assisted by his friend who ensured his master's final act was one of dignity. As Saigō's sword fell, it was as if an entire era fell with it. The age of the samurai, which had defined Japan for nearly a millennium, was over. In the immediate aftermath, Saigō Takamori was branded a traitor, an enemy of the state. But history has a way of finding the truth. Years later, as Japan continued its rapid modernization, the people and even the government began to see the wisdom in Saigō's fears. They realized that in their quest for progress, they had perhaps lost something precious. In a stunning reversal, the emperor himself officially pardoned Saigō, posthumously restoring his titles and praising him as a true Japanese of virtue. Saigō Takamori became a national hero, a powerful symbol not of rebellion, but of unwavering principle. He stands as a timeless reminder that progress without a moral compass is meaningless, and that true strength lies not just in power, but in honor. From the ashes of his final tragic defeat, his legacy echoed through time, shaping the character of modern Japan in ways he could never have imagined. His story is a testament to the idea that even in loss, there can be a profound and lasting victory. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the past. If you were moved by the story of the last samurai, be sure to like this video and subscribe to Silent Warrior Studios. We're dedicated to uncovering the forgotten warriors and the timeless histories that shaped our world. We'll see you in the next episode.